what I want to talk about really is the role of the energy sector and the implications of the energy transition on government tax revenue. So, in that sense, uh, this is, I would say, perhaps taking a step back from what we have been talking about in the sense of where will the money come to finance a transition. This is asking the larger question of what is going to happen to the money flows in general in the context of the energy transition. And as I've indicated there, this is a work that is currently in progress. And so I request you not to cite the conclusions here as final conclusions. Uh, we are sharing this with this audience in the spirit of getting your feedback and inputs to help us improve our work. This is work I've done with my colleagues who are also listed there on the slide. Ashwin and Anirudh are also part of developing this work. So with that, let me now, yeah. So motivation for this, I think I don't really need to spend any time on this slide. We know that an energy transition is already underway. It's expected that India's electricity generation mix is going to change significantly by 2030. We're going to have much more non-fossil fuel sources. Economics are changing for renewable technologies as well as for storage technologies and so on. There is a policy thrust on aspects such as electric mobility. So there are all these drivers, and this graph is very similar to what Vibhuti showed in terms of how the capacity addition has been changing over the recent years to kind of highlight the fact that we are under a transition. And the economics is kind of highlighted by this small graphic. Again, the idea is not that we want to pour over these numbers, but just to show that the line there is showing how the solar tariffs over various rounds of bidding have evolved, and that horizontal blue line tells you what is the average cost of power purchase today in the country from non-renewable sources. So clearly, for the last, let's say, couple of years, we have been discovering renewable prices or solar prices which are below the average cost of purchase from the other sources. But of course, one must keep in mind that these are not really comparable numbers, because the renewable numbers are purely the bid numbers. There are additional costs to integration and so on. But this gives us a good sense of where the trend is going. So given that, uh, we also know that various aspects of the energy transition are being studied. Indeed, this conference, I think, is a good example of that. Various people over all the sessions have shared different perspectives on the challenges of the transition and so on. So integration of renewables, a question that was asked earlier in this session itself, is a topic that has been quite studied. Just transitions is an issue that is increasingly gaining traction, and a lot of people are focusing their attention on how to make this transition just. Policy issues around, let's say, transformative technologies such as electric vehicles or hydrogen are also gaining traction, and increasingly there is greater attention to that. Uh, but
So sorry, quick intervention. Could I just request you to speak a little slower for the benefit of the translator?
yeah, I forgot about that. Sorry,
All
this
right.
is
Thank you.
my style of speaking. I'll
No,
try
it's good.
and
It's great to see your enthusiasm in general, right, for the topic, and we're all quite happy about that. But just a little slower for the benefit of the translator. Thank you.
thanks. Yeah, so what we want to really look at is what we feel is aspect that is not so well studied in the context of this energy transition, which is in general the question of government revenues, and in particular tax revenues that come out of the energy sector. So we have looked at, for example, the entire subsidies are well studied, which is something that Vibhuti did speak about, and how much money is being put into the energy sector. But we don't really have as much of an understanding of what we are taking out of the energy sector in terms of money, because that's also important. If the government has to finance development programs, it needs to raise revenues from some sources. And what is the role that the energy sector is playing in that? That's the uh, kind of a gap that we're trying to fill. And the motivation for that was kind of this sense that energy sector is a big player in this role, in this space. And I think all of us would have had this personal experience of wondering why we are paying such a high price for petrol at the pump when international oil prices are around $45 to $50. If you convert what you're paying at the pump to dollars per barrel, we are actually paying more than $200 a barrel today. So that's kind of gives you an indication of what are the kind of implications we're talking about. And uh, going forward, we think that this issue is not only relevant for overall government revenues, but it's also a very important issue for energy sector itself, because uh, again, as Vibhuti touched upon it, uh, the pressure for increasing subsidies, especially in the electricity sector, is only going to grow. We have a lot of newly electrified households whose consumption is going to grow up. Agricultural and rural economies, if they have to pick up, they need to be provided support. So the pressure for subsidies will grow, while the room for providing that subsidy through cross subsidy is only going to decrease, especially with consumers, C&I consumers migrating away from discoms, and with cross subsidy itself coming down as a policy directive over the years. So given all this, there's going to be increasing pressure on subsidies, and that's why it's important to examine what is going to happen to overall government revenues in the context of the energy transition. So while this transition is going to be gradual, we're not saying that this is a problem that's going to kind of show up in a couple of years from now. It'll probably take a couple of decades. But at the same time, we know that taxation reform is also a very complex process. I think the GST is a very good example of how complicated taxation reform, comprehensive taxation reform can be. And that's why we thought that this issue is good to examine and begin examining early. So I don't want to go into too much detail here, but this slide, essentially what we are saying is that there are various kinds of taxes and other kinds of levies that are levied on energy carriers or energy products. So you have some kinds of taxes such as customs and excise and royalty that apply to crude oil. Petroleum products have a whole range of other kinds of taxes depending on which product you're talking about. It might be under GST, it might not be under GST. Electricity is being a state subject is also taxed differently in different states. So there are different varieties of taxes that are applicable to different energy forms. And indeed, it's actually not even easy to uh, particularly if you're not a complete finance geek like we are not finance people, we are more energy people. For us to understand what are all the various taxes levied on different forms of energy itself is not easy. So that's why we thought we'll try and take a shot at what this picture throws up. And in our analysis, we are only considering what we are calling as direct revenues from energy carriers. That is the taxes or levies you levy directly on energy carriers. We are not considering somewhat indirect revenue sources, such as, let's say, corporate taxes that are paid by energy companies. They are also able to pay their taxes because they're making money out of energy sources, or dividends from public sector companies in the energy space. So all these are also government revenues accruing from energy, but we are not considering those in our analysis. So the very simple objective of our effort is to estimate what is it that the energy sector is contributing to total tax revenues of the government. And by government, we mean it could be any of these three slices. One could only look at the union government and see how much energy is contributing to that. One could look at all the states together, or one could look at union plus states together. And we have also tried to disaggregate this information by energy source. And we have currently broadly broken it up into 4 categories: coal, petroleum, including petroleum products, natural gas, and electricity. So what do these 4 sources contribute to the energy sector? And the taxes we have considered, again, for simplicity, we have only considered some taxes, essentially driven by the data availability. So what kind of data is easy to access? So for the coal sector, the coal directory and some sources give you some amount of coal related data. Similarly, the petroleum sector, you get some data from the petroleum planning and analysis cell. So based on this, we have actually tried to compile information about how much these sources are contributing to different forms of taxes. So how much does coal contribute through GST, customs, etc., etc. Similarly, petroleum and petroleum products, and so on and so forth. And yeah, I've just given a list of, there's a whole catch-all bucket there called other taxes. What all falls under that, I've kind of given a long laundry list. It's not of interest to us. We can leave that aside. And all these information for the amount of taxes are all taken from official sources as published by respective either PSUs or government data agencies or the RBI. So, and this, as I said, may not include all the taxes and levies that are applied, primarily because data may not be available for some of them. But it also, we have deliberately excluded some revenue sources such as royalty. For example, all the coal, crude oil that is mined in the country, or natural gas that's produced in the country, they are subject to royalty payments. In the coal sector, you also have a district mineral fund where which needs to be contributed to by the coal miners. So we are not including any of that. And as I said earlier, we are not considering indirect sources of revenue such as corporate tax and public sector unit dividends and so on and so forth. And so that gives us an idea of the energy sector taxes. To compare this with the total tax revenue of the governments at the various levels, we have just looked at data as published by the RBI, which is a single source where we can get this information. And uh, this data we have looked at only for one financial year right now, which is FY19, the last year for which data is available. But we did a very quick and dirty check whether this is a valid conclusion we are drawing and that FY19 was not a strange year for some reason by comparing it to the few previous years. And by and large, it looks like our conclusions that I'm going to share with you are consistent with the FY19 figures. So what are the findings that we've had? So I have about 2 or 3 slides on the findings and then maybe a couple of slides on the implications of the findings. So this is the first slide on what are the findings. On the right hand side, the two graphs show what is the dependence of the union government on the top and state governments below on of these governments on energy and non-energy sources for their overall tax revenue. So if you can look at the top right hand pie chart, you can see that there is about 9.8 lakh crores of tax revenue that the government collects from non-energy sources, but it also collects 3.3 lakh crores of revenue from energy, purely from energy. So totally it adds up to about 13 lakh crores. Out of 13 lakh crores, 3.3 comes from energy and about 9.8 or 9.9 comes from non-energy sources. If you look at state governments, their total tax revenue is in the order of 20 lakh crores, out of which about 2.5 lakh crores comes from energy sources. And if you add up these two, that's the figure that you find on the top left, which is that out of the total 32 or 33 lakh crores, you have about 6 lakh crores, 5.9 lakh crores coming from the energy sector. So what this is telling us is that there is a significant dependence of the government on the energy sector for its overall tax revenues from all the possible sources. This includes all the direct taxes, indirect taxes, all the taxes that the governments collect at various levels, whether it's the union or the states. There is a significant dependence. At the overall level, it's about 18%. And the union government is particularly dependent on the energy sector to the tune of about a quarter of all its revenues actually comes from just one sector, which is the energy sector. So we feel that this is a significant finding and kind of needs some reflection on all our part. Within the energy sector, who is contributing to the revenue? So again, I've structured the graphs very similar to the previous slide. That right-hand side has union and state government, and the left-hand top is all the governments. So if you look at the right-hand top, you can see that about 83% of the revenue going to the union government is coming from the petroleum sector, and the natural gas sector. So the natural gas is a much smaller component. So petroleum and natural gas contributes about 83%, while coal contributes about the remaining 17% to the union government. If you look at the state governments, electricity comes into play here because electricity duty is something that is charged by the state governments, and 15% of all state energy tax revenues are coming from electricity, but states are also predominantly dependent on petroleum and natural gas to the tune of 83%. And naturally, this picture kind of reflects at the union level. So petroleum and natural gas, essentially, one can conclude, is the largest single contributor to overall energy revenues. It contributes about 83%. Coal and electricity are roughly equally divided. Coal is slightly larger in terms of by contributing 10%. Electricity contributes about 7%. If you look at all the tax revenues coming from the energy sector. And this is perhaps not a big surprise, as at the earlier part of my presentation, I said that we are paying about $200 a barrel at the pump when crude oil is costing about $45, $50. So naturally, and most of the difference is actually due to taxation. So naturally, this is a big contributor to the overall revenue to the governments. The interesting thing to keep in mind is that coal has 17% contribution to the center, so it's not negligible. And of course, this is 17% of the energy taxes. I'm not talking of all taxes, obviously, but even then, it's definitely not something negligible. While with states, it's exactly the reverse dependence. And though the states actually have a very little dependence on coal for tax revenues, one must remember that some states, especially the coal-bearing states, depend quite heavily on coal for royalty and DMF and etc., which we have not considered in our analysis. But I just wanted to flag that here. so that we don't miss that out. The last slide on the analysis that we have done is looking at different states, because in India, as you know, our states are very diverse and we have very different pictures that emerge across states, and which is not surprising if you look at this also. So we've looked at some 10 states, but I don't think, again, the specific numbers are very important. But the point is that some states depend more on energy taxes and some are less dependent. So states like Assam and Jharkhand, for example, depend only 8 to 10% of their revenues comes from energy taxes, while for Maharashtra it is as high as 16%. So uh, and also the distribution of energy taxes within the state also varies by state. So some states such as Assam, Tamil Nadu, and Telangana, for example, all these states with the reddish whatever color in the bottom row, they all depend, more than 90% of their energy tax revenues comes from petroleum. On the other hand, Chhattisgarh, Odisha, and West Bengal have less than 70% of their energy tax revenue coming from petroleum. So the both the extent of dependence on energy as well as the composition of that energy tax revenue varies across states. And as I said in the previous slide, one should not forget the role of coal royalty and coal related revenues for some states. For example, in Jharkhand, though Jharkhand depends on energy for 8% of its total tax revenue, it actually depends on more than 8% for its revenues, overall revenues from coal royalty and coal DMF and so on, other contributions. So essentially, there is a fairly wide spectrum of dependence of states on energy sector taxes, and this is another point to be kept in mind. So, what are the implications of these findings? So, as the energy sector transition takes place, gathers pace as we go forward, as we kind of have seen before, this transition is just kind of taking off in India, but it's expected that it will only accelerate going forward. And this transition is actually going to take place at different speeds. It's not that everybody is going to transition at the same pace and all sectors are going to move in lockstep. What is most likely going to happen is that electricity sector will be the first one to kind of complete its transition from coal to renewables and storage and so on. Agriculture as a sector is likely to increasingly electrify with various government schemes and other kind of schemes that are in place. There's a lot of push to electrify transport and also shift transport to other alternatives than petroleum based fuels. Industry will probably be the last kind of sector to shift to non fossil fuel based energy forms, because they are the traditionally hard to abate sectors, as they're called. And of course, this is across sectors, but even across states, the speeds are going to vary. It's not that all states are going to adopt, let's say, electric vehicles at the same pace. Some states will be leaders and some states will be laggards. Delhi has already announced a very forward looking policy, other states will follow. So there is going to be a difference in speeds as to how states will kind of follow this path. The reason this is important is that your revenue realization from energy sector taxes is going to follow the same path as the transition that is going to take place. And that is going to be important to design our taxation reforms as we may require them. And as we saw from a sectoral point of view, since 83% of total tax revenues are coming from the transport sector, or rather from the petroleum sector, and most of the petroleum revenues are coming from the transport fuels, namely motor spirit and high speed diesel, to a lesser extent aviation transport fuel. So the biggest impact on government revenues is really going to be from the transition in the transport sector. So if we are looking at an aggressively pushing electrification of transport or pushing transport to other forms of fuels, one must also start looking at what happens to the taxation revenue of the government. That's the message that we're trying to send across. And of course, the impact is going to be different across union and states and so on, depending on their dependence on tax revenues. So if we want, obviously the government does need to continue to raise tax revenues in order to be able to continue all its developmental programs and so on and so forth. So therefore, one has to actually think of taxation reforms if one wants to make up for whatever loss of taxation revenue that's going to come from the energy sector, which, as we have already seen, most of it is coming from the fossil fuel sector. It's not coming from the renewables or electricity sector. So as one proceeds with this energy transition, all the complex issues that one needs to address with any taxation reform, not least including issues of federalism, which are already kind of at the boiling point in the country regarding with respect to GST and taxes, these need to be addressed and we need to find a solution as we go forward. So once again, just to reiterate what I said earlier, though this transition is going to happen gradually, probably take a decade or two, but this is an extremely complex, multidimensional problem, and that's why one needs to start the discourse and discussions as to how does one actually address this challenge. And this is one of the various problems that the country as a whole has to address as part of the energy transition as we go forward. So I just want to conclude with some very initial thoughts that we have on how one can think of going forward. And these are not really reform suggestions, but more of what one might call process suggestions as to how one can think about finding a solution, not the solution itself. So the first is, we think that we need to recognize this as a serious challenge and form an expert group on energy taxation, perhaps under the 16th Finance Commission, and it can later on be made a permanent expert group which can advise on these issues. The second, as we said earlier, it's actually very difficult to even find out what exactly is the tax revenues, what exactly are the subsidy payouts that are happening, what is the impact of different sectors on different levels of government. So I think we need a much better publicly available, consistent database of this kind of information, so that much richer and deeper analysis can be done. This is, of course, just an initial attempt to flesh out this problem. It needs much deeper study. And finally, as I said, there is a great amount of variation across states in the country, and one needs actually much deeper state level studies so that one can actually come up with solutions which are more relevant to individual states, since a one size fits all solution is, of course, not going to work for a country like India.